snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hi guys, so I am here today to do the 5th BooktubeSFF Babbles. This is a series which is going on in tandem with the BooktubeSFF Awards. I am a judge for the BooktubeSFF Awards. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, I will put a link below linking you to the Goodreads group. Every week, Paul from A Common Touch of Fantasy comes up with a topic for us to discuss that involves science fiction and fantasy. So this week's topic is Shortlist Update. And luckily, I have now finished all of the BooktubeSFF nominees. I have read them all, and I'm very happy because I know what I'm going to vote for. I think now that I've read them all, I have a clearer idea. So let me tell you about the things I have since read since I last gave you an update on my shortlist plan. The first few things that I needed to read, if you remember my shortlist plans, were the short fiction nominees. I hadn't read any of them last time we spoke about this, so since then I have read all 3. The first one I read was BINTI, which is by NNEDI OKORAFOR. This was my first NNEDI OKORAFOR book and I was very excited to try it out. It is a novella, so I was kind of expecting it to be short and feel short. A lot of the time novellas feel like they could be expanded for me. However, I felt like this was too short and I felt like it didn't quite grip me as much as I was expecting it to. I've heard great things about this. I thought it was going to be something I would love. I really truly did. But unfortunately it let me down slightly and it didn't grip me in the way I hoped. I felt like this was interesting. We follow a young lady who is part of the Himba culture and she is jetting off away from her culture and away from her people to go to a university. I think it's an interesting concept. I think the Himba culture as a whole is really fascinating, but if you stripped the culture away, which isn't made up, it's not fantastical, it's a real culture, if you strip that away, then I don't really think this story has a lot going for it. It feels a bit lacking when you take that element away, and I don't think that NNEDI OKORAFOR really tried as hard as she could to push this, to really get it to be something original and exciting. I feel like it's got potential, and if it was a novel format, maybe it really would have become something more, but I never felt like I connected to the character enough, and yeah, sadly this one was my least favourite of the 3 nominated works. The next one I read in the nominated short fiction was Perfect State by Sanderson. This is a story that I was quite excited about because I heard some people love it and some people hate it. I wanted to see where I fell on that spectrum. I did enjoy this. I definitely thought it was better than BINTI in my opinion, but I still didn't think it was up to scratch with some of Sanderson's other work, and I do feel as though it's a story that is somewhat lacking in places. It has some interesting moments, it has some interesting characters, but again, I feel like if it was developed into a longer format, it would work better. And sadly it isn't, it's just a short format. There are characters who are involved in virtual reality. They are basically brains that only live in this VR simulation. They don't really have their own lives, they just live in the simulation that they are put into because there isn't enough space on Earth for them or enough resources on Earth for them really to sustain a normal life. So instead they get put into this made-up simulation where they get to be kings and emperors, and it keeps them happy whilst the rest of the world can go on living without having to give away all of their resources to make sure that these people are having fulfilled lives. It's an interesting concept and I definitely liked the concept, but I didn't feel like it was done to its full potential, and I did think it had a few holes that didn't feel as developed as I would have liked them to. I thought it was alright, I thought it was an interesting read, but it wasn't my favourite thing ever. And the next one that I ended up reading is the final one in this category. It is called Midnight Hour and it's by Mary Robinette Kowal. You can find it in the issue 5 of Uncanny magazine and it's free online if you want to go and read it, so I'll put a link to it below. I really enjoyed this. I was hoping that I would really enjoy this, seeing as I didn't love the other 2 and neither of them stood out as amazing stories to me. But this one was great and I really enjoyed this. I do really like Robinette Kowal's work. I think she has an incredible writing style and I've really enjoyed her glamorous series so far. So I was hoping to like this and I definitely got that vibe. It is more fantasy based than the other 2, which are more science fiction based in my opinion. This one definitely has more of a fantastical vibe. It kind of has a fairy tale sort of vibe as well, a little bit like a fable or a sort of cautionary tale. I just enjoyed this. It was fun, it was escapism, it was really entertaining, and it felt like it was the right length for me. I didn't feel like this one needed to be any longer. It felt like a completed story that was very satisfactory, very entertaining whilst I was reading it, but then it was done when it was done, and I was happy with that as an ending, and I really enjoyed that one, and definitely would say that if you haven't read any Mary Robinette Kowal, then maybe check that story out, because I think it's a good start point with her work, and it's something that definitely indicates how she writes and the sort of Regency periods that she's interested in. I really liked it, and I would definitely say that it's a good one. Now moving on to the other things that I hadn't yet read. I hadn't yet read one of the YA nominees, and that is ILLUMINAE by KRISTOFF and AIMIE KAUFMAN. I have now read ILLUMINAE, and I definitely enjoyed this. I will have a full review for all of these, by the way, if you want to see more detail about each of them. I really enjoyed this. I have to say, it was a story that took me a little bit to get connected to the characters and get fully immersed, but once I hit that halfway point, things got a rolling, and I loved it from that point onwards. It was so enticing, so exciting, so action-packed, so filled with fun. It's all told in these different formats, and particularly later on, this formatting really helps the story come to life and really plays a big, massive part in the storyline and making it feel genuine and exciting. I loved it, and it was fantastic. It was so much fun. So that's a great one. Really happy that the awards got me to pick this up and read it. The final one that I hadn't yet read but have now finished is The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin, and I have to say I was worried going into this because I didn't like The 100,000 Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin. I gave it 2 stars. I wasn't a big fan, so I was particularly worried about going into this one, but I was very pleasantly surprised, and although again this was a slow starter for me, once I got past the 30% mark in this one, so a third of the way in, I actually started to really enjoy this. I thought the magic was really interesting. It's an earth-based magic, and it all revolves around people manipulating Earth and the powers of Earth, and things like earthquakes and tsunamis all play a big part in this world. I also felt like the characters were really well developed by the end of the story, and it made me want to pick up the next one in the series and keep reading. Next one isn't out yet, so I will keep reading when it comes out, but again, this is not something I would have touched unless the awards made me touch it, because I did not think I would be reading any more N.K. Jemisin anytime soon after how much I disliked her first book, but the awards made me rethink that, and I'm really happy that they did, because I wouldn't have read this otherwise, and I'm very glad I did, because I gave it a good rating. So that is everything I hadn't read yet done. I now know in my own head what I think I'm going to vote for most of the categories. Not quite 100% decided on the graphic novel category, I must admit, because that one is going to be tricky. That one's a hard category. I liked all of them. So it's going to be difficult. That one's going to be difficult. I'm very much excited to see how the rest of the awards plays out. I hope you guys are as well. I would love to hear how you guys have been doing on your shortlist updates. Whether you have made a shortlist update, let me know, or if you've just been reading some of these books, then you can let me know that in the comments below. If you have done a video, don't forget to go over to the Goodreads group, which I will again link in the description, and you can link your video there so that anyone who is involved in this can watch it and comment and find out about you, and you can get involved. It's so much fun being involved in our science fiction and fantasy community, making videos, chatting about topics, and having a really great time talking to everyone, seeing their videos and just getting involved. So if you haven't done one of these yet, then please feel free. If you have a blog and you're doing it on that, again, you can link the blog on the Goodreads group. That is also totally fine. Thank you all for watching. I will see you all again soon in another video. Bye. Me and you gonna have a little chat about the